guess it felt like the highlights were the ability to kind of connect with some sort of inspiring young teachers and older teachers and think about giving them strong techniques that they could take away from the session. I'm really against the principle simply of motivation, because I think when that person's left the room, what exists. And so, we made sure that we left with some really good techniques. And I think seeing them smiling and seeing the kind of pupil dilation and the connection to what we were doing, felt really like a good breakthrough. So I do a short part which is around accelerated learning. So I got the people who were in the room to learn Japanese in 75 seconds. And obviously when you say you're about to do that, like people sort of think, no, there's no way, maybe I don't like languages or whatever. And then you're able to really quickly show them that through using different senses, almost simultaneously, they can learn things very, very fast. And then the idea, it's kind of rhetorical, is do you think the reason you can do that is anything to do with your school ability? And so it was a chance to remind themselves that how they really work as a human far outstrips what they think they can do as a student or a teacher. They were able to connect with that really quickly, and because it's interactive, they could really feel it happening. And then we linked that across to memory. So I think in a very short time that was really effective. We could sort of change their views on what kind of learners they thought they were. I work across the world, and I work with troubled kids, and I work in the European Parliament, and I work across lots of different kinds of things. So when I'm thinking about what global competence is, what I'm aware of is the growing gap between what companies are looking for and the ideology behind education. Where I work predominantly in the UK, I work with a lot of cutting edge companies, and what they're looking for are kids that can think creatively, use their imagination, collaborate, work independently. Unfortunately, what the education system through the government is choosing to do is to say it's all about facts, it's all about spoon feeding. But do we think, Lena, just because you know 3 more things than me, you win? Like, there's no way that works on any level. So what I'm sort of trying to do is to get across the idea that there's this huge gap between sort of research and practice. And I had the opportunity, I guess, to do a PhD and go and have another piece of work that sort of proves that how we work in education isn't that productive. But I thought sort of, to get my hands dirty, to keep working with teachers across the world, trying to make them realize that these kind of creative skills are incredibly useful. And actually, what you see in your students is a huge change, getting them to come up with ideas. And as I said, building methodologies so that the teachers feel comfortable sort of reenacting that in the classroom. I think on some levels, I think technology is obviously, it's important, it's going to continue. I think at times I find technology can be dehumanizing. I think it's the reason that we can drone people in countries and bomb them and don't necessarily feel something. What I encourage is us to remain and remember that we're humans first of all. But when you're teaching kids how to try and research, the availability then of having like a tablet or something that they can quickly generate information and then do something interesting with that information becomes really important. So I think the use of technology when it comes to research for quick ideas and sort of drilling into the 5 W's, like who and what and why and so on. But honestly, I think also then kind of what we do artistically. So how do we draw? And even if it's 2 stick men chasing another stick man holding a stick, we remember that because we work pictorially. So if I said to you, isn't it weird that when a book gets good, it becomes a film in our head? And so it's this pictorial sense of imagination that's the driver. And I think that exists whether technology's there or not. And in fact, I think it places more emphasis on the individual to be active when it's not. Use technology in other moments for sure. But I think, the big thing becomes our human brain is the most complex thing in the known universe. So how can we start to use that? And we don't necessarily need to passively move ourselves across to technology. So I think it's a balance. There's a very interesting experiment. There are 2 classrooms, and in one classroom, a teacher takes in a strange-looking kind of staff object and leaves it on the floor. And in the other room, they do the same thing, but they show them that if you twist it, it lights up. In the room that they should show them that they twisted it, lights up, the students only ever discovered that one thing. In the one that the teacher just left it, they discovered actually did 4 or 5 separate things. And so that idea around what we're encouraging our kids to do rather than telling them that it's this and it's singular. I mean, life's about questions, not really about answers, and I think keep promoting that within education. I think the brief that I arrived to was that there are some really inspiring teachers who've got lots of energy. What happens, certainly in the UK, is that those inspiring teachers are running up against a system that they feel like isn't helping their kids. And I think just bit by bit, conferences like these, the ability to connect, because I speak to like 50 or 60 teachers in that room, and they can go on and build on those methodologies and then start to move those things across. So it's hard to say exactly. I think within the UAE, as with everywhere, it's about open and sharing the ways in which that we're trying to inspire and what we're trying to think about. And what are our end goals? So, are we only working vocationally? For me, I'm not always interested in that. I don't think you can always work in terms of measurables, like the fact that you were inspired by a teacher 15 years ago to go and do a thing. Can we measure that? I mean, you may have got 0.2 more on your maths, but what are we looking at? So I think sort of moving forward, there obviously need to be some measurables, but also just sort of thinking about anecdotal impacts at the same time.